Hello everyone, my name is Deepa Aravindar, and today I'm thrilled to present an exciting and creative writing activity for the upper primary ESL students. The activity is titled Shoot and Solve Poetry Game, and the activity focuses on writing shape poems. I'm sure you'll enjoy this interactive and engaging way to explore creativity through words and shapes. Let's dive in. Now, let's talk about the students we'll be working with today. The activity is specially designed for Year 5 students, and here are the learning objectives for this lesson. First, by the end of the lesson, pupils should be able to write a simple shape poem with emotion, use descriptive words and imagery matching the shape. Third is present poems with expressive voice and gestures. These objectives help our students engage both their writing and speaking skills, allowing them to express themselves creatively, which is also kind of practicing their English. So, before we start, let's define what a shape poem is. A shape poem is a poem that is written in the outline of an object or shape that relates to the theme of the poem. For example, if the poem is about a tree, the words are written in the shape of a tree, connecting the visual representation of the object to the emotions or ideas expressed in the poem itself. So now let me show you a few examples on the Canva now. As you can see, these poems are not written in the regular straight lines. Instead, instead the words form the shape of the object, which helps convey the emotions tied to it. You can see there is a shape poem entitled Wanna Be a Fish, which is in the shape of a fish and which conveys the emotion tied to the fish. And there is also another shape poem in the title of Anteater. So you can see here it expresses an object's characteristic to the poem. And now I have chosen to use Canva for this lesson, and here's why. Canva is not only a tool for creating beautiful visuals, but also an excellent platform for presenting instructional content in a visually engaging way. For this lesson, I've created slides that will help the students understand the concept of shape poems. By using Canva, I can display example poems, poem templates, and even step by step instruction for the gallery walk activity later on. Canva also helps in the making the lesson materials more appealing, which is crucial when teaching younger students, right? The next platform I'm using is TikTok. Now, TikTok might seem like just a fun app for short videos, but it's actually a great way to engage Year 5 students because they are already very familiar with it. I'll be using TikTok to record the recitation of a shape poem. The short form video format is perfect for allowing the poem's expression to shine. I can add gestures and tone of the voice in an engaging way and add effects like green screen effect to show the poem. And this is something that students will be excited to try as well, right? So TikTok makes the lesson more relatable and also fun. Lastly, I'm uploading this whole lesson to YouTube. I've chosen YouTube because it's a widely accessible platform where all of my lessons can be compiled in just one place. I'll be embedding the TikTok video into this YouTube lesson video so you can see the poem recital, followed by my step by step explanation of the lesson. This also provides a great model for future lessons as it shows how different digital tools can be integrated into one cohesive lesson plan for ESL primary classrooms. Plus, YouTube allows me to share this easily with my peers, lecturers, and even students. So now, in order to demonstrate how to present a shape poem effectively, I will now recite a shape poem in the shape of Christmas tree. And now I'll add expressive gestures and tone to bring the poem to life. Let's see the recital. Hello everyone, I'm Deepa and now I'm going to recite a shape poem in the shape of the Christmas tree. Now let's start in a count of 3, 2, and 1. Morning. Eyes cracked, wiping its sleep. Second on a hot tea, I looked through the glass. Stain an array of colors. A distant shout echoes of children have awoken this day. Sun rises atop trees, clouds linger, orange, blue, pink, yellow display. The arrangement portrays cotton candy. Ice rooftop melts, dripping soundly down. Puddles gather with a rainbow-like reflection. Tiny booted feet jumping, causing a ripple effect. Free and unguided, a children's spirit enlightened. A canary's nest left unguarded and unkept. Too cold. Having departed the winter months in search of warmth. Oak limb overhangs, touching down upon earth's surface. Its old age and drought is now overwhelming for its aging stump. Ice-covered windshields glisten once hid by the blessed sun's beam, looking like diamonds, crystals creating an erotic effect to my eye. A frozen tundra, gardens withhold no fruits, vegetables, flowers alike. Its snow-covered soil has still life within awaiting next spring's dawn. The smoke rises above a brick, stacked chimney like that of an Indian's altar. It smells a wood burning scent, clogs my nose, signifying a winter's arrival. A breath of fresh air is inhaled by the lungs of an infant, resembling its life's purity. A mother cradles her newborn in warm, loving arms, rocking its gentle soul asleep. I enjoy my morning cup of tea, surrounded by visions, so many, bringing a smile upon a beloved event, filled with joy. Merry Christmas. Thank you. So now that we have seen our recital of the poem, I think this will be a great model for students to follow when they present their poems aloud. Now I'll walk you through the entire process from introducing the concept to the final step, where students will present their poems using their own gestures and good words. Our goal is to help students express their emotions, thoughts, and creativity in a visually meaningful way. So these are the materials needed: projector, the dartboard, and the envelopes, sticky notes, pencils, and colored markers. And we will also need the Canva presentation slide for students. It will be easier for them to understand what a shape poem is before they create their own shape poem. And these are the shape poem worksheets that we will have to print so that we can put this into the envelopes. And now, to begin the lesson, we want to set the stage by introducing the concept of shape poems to our students. You could start by showing them a couple of examples of poems that are written in shapes. Like I showed in the materials, we have prepared a slide for them to show a few examples of shape poems. For instance, show a heart-shaped poem and explain that the shape reflects the theme of love. You could also show a tree-shaped poem to emphasize growth and also strength. For example, you can ask your students questions like, what shape do you think represents happiness and why? Or you can ask questions like, how do you think we can express strength in the shape of a tree? So I think these questions are meant to encourage them to start thinking creatively about how shapes and emotions can together. Remember, the focus here is on visualizing emotions through shapes. And here's a little reminder for the teachers. Make sure to emphasize that shape poems are about both language and also art. The shape should reflect the theme and the words. And for the rational part, the purpose of the set induction is to activate students' prior knowledge and engage them in the topic of shape poems. By introducing them to examples of shape poems like heart and tree shapes, students can begin to visualize how emotions can be expressed through both words and shapes. This introduction also sparks curiosity and primes students to think creatively about how shape relate to the ideas and feelings. By asking open ended questions like, what shape represents happiness and how can we express strength or love in the shape of a tree or even a star, you are encouraging students to connect the concept of shape bones with their own experiences, which is crucial for motivating them to engage in the activity. And the next step, we are going to play a game called Shoot and Solve. This activity adds a bit of excitement and helps the students choose their shape of the poem. Here's how you can set it up. First, you have to prepare a dartboard on a large paper board with shapes on it. For example, uh, there will be a few score in the sticky ball dartboard, and each point value is linked to a sealed envelope that contains one shape poem worksheet. And students will take turns throwing the sticky ball at the board. And wherever the dart lands, that's the shape they will work with for their poem. And once they land and get their own shape, as a teacher, you must guide them to think about the emotion or feeling associated with that shape. For example, let's say if they land on a heart shape, they might write a poem about love or affection. If they land on cloud shape, it might represent dreams, peace, or even freedom, right? So you can ask students questions like, what words come to mind when you think of peace or dreaming? Or if you had to describe strength or growth, what word you could use? And I will give you a few more example prompts. First, you can ask, if your shape is a tree, what could you write about to capture the idea of growth or roots? Or if your shape is a cloud, how would you express something light or floating in the air? So for me, the shoot and solve game adds an element of excitement and randomness to the lesson, keeping students engaged and eager to participate in it. The activity provides a fun, interactive way for students to choose their poem shapes through chance, making the task feel like a playful challenge. This element of surprise motivates students and encourages them to think creatively. And the game also helps students connect their shape to a particular emotion or theme, which is essential for writing their shape poem. By asking student prompt questions like, what words come to mind when you think of peace or dreaming, you are guiding them. You're guiding them to think and help them form connections between the abstract concepts and language. This playful activity builds on students' creativity and helps them to apply the language skills in a fun and supportive environment. Once the shapes are chosen, it's time for the students to write their own poems, right? And here's how to guide them through this process. First, begin by helping students brainstorm words related to their shape. For example, if the shape is a tree, words like branches, roots, leaves, grow, strong, and nature might come to mind. For a cloud, students could think about words like floating, dreaming, soft, calm, and etc. And next is writing the poem around the shape. Here, students don't need to fill every space, but the words should flow with the shape that they have chosen. Encourage them to think about how to make the shape visible in their poem. This is where the art aspects comes in. For example, if you're writing a heart-shaped poem, the words might curve in the shape of a heart. If they're writing about a tree, the words could form the outline of a tree. And for the example prompts, as a teacher, you could ask students, what words would you use to describe a cloud? What about floating or dreaming? And you can ask questions like, where would you place those words in the shape of the cloud? And students' responses might be like, I would write the word floating at the top of the cloud to show how it's high in the air. Or they could say, like, I would use the word calm in the middle to show the peaceful feeling of the cloud. And here's a reminder for the teachers, be sure to support students who might struggle with words. Ask guiding questions to them, like, what feelings does this shape bring to mind? Or can you think of other words related to this shape? And the poem creation stage in this is crucial for students to apply what they have learned in a practical way. Here, students are given the freedom to brainstorm words and phrases related to their own shapes, which encourages critical thinking as they search for vocabulary that fits the theme and shape. This step fosters creativity as students work to form a poem that is not only linguistically meaningful but also visually expressive. The focus on making the shape visible to the poem adds an artistic layer to the task, reinforcing the idea that language and visual art can work together. The teacher's prompts help guide students who may struggle with finding words, providing scaffolding and support as needed. This stage is where students can truly engage their imagination and express themselves, strengthening their language skills through writing and also design. After the poems are complete, this is where step 4 is going to play the main role. We move to the gallery walk. This part encourages peer feedback and gives students a chance to see and appreciate each other's work. First, set up the room. Place the student's poem around the room so everyone can walk around and look at it. And next, give feedback. Encourage students to give positive or constructive feedback on each other's poem. They should write something appreciative on a sticky note, such as, I love how you use the word roots to describe a tree's strength, or I really like how you made your heart poem feel so warm. And as teachers, you must make sure to remind students to focus on what they like about their peers' work rather than just pointing out what could be improved. And another reminder for teachers is to remind students that feedback should be positive and constructive. Avoid any overly critical comments and focus on encouragement and appreciation. And this gallery walk encourages peer interaction and allows students to showcase their work in a positive and supportive environment. Giving and receiving feedback is an important skill for both language development and also social learning, social emotional learning. And this stage for me allows students to practice their communication skills by offering constructive feedback and reflecting on their peers' work. By focusing on positive feedback, I love how you use the word roots to describe a tree stand, or I like how you arranged your words in the heart shape. And positive feedbacks like this help students learn to appreciate each other's creativity and build a sense of community in the classroom. This also promotes emotional development as students recognize the value of their own work and the other peers' works. The gallery work encourages respect, empathy, and collaboration, which are essential components of social emotional learning. Now, to wrap this lesson up, it's important to leave the students with a reflection on what they have learned. First, ask reflection questions like, what shape did you choose and why? Or ask questions like, how did How did it feel to create a poem in the shape of an object? Excuse me. Did it change how you thought about writing? Did it make any changes in your perspective? And don't forget, as a teacher, you must review the key points. You can say, today we have learned about shape poems. You saw how we can express our emotions and ideas through words and shapes. You also learned how to give and receive positive feedback and how to perform a poem. You can use this phrase. And remember to end the lesson with encouragement. As teachers, you can say, I'm so proud of all your work today. Keep using your creativity to express yourselves in different forms. Poems can take so many shapes. Keep exploring. And the stage is as essential for reinforcing the learning objectives and reflecting on the lesson's key concepts. By asking reflective questions like what shape did you choose and why, students are prompted to think critically about their choices and the creative process behind their poem. This self reflection helps students internalize what they have learned while also reinforcing the connection between shapes, emotions, and also language. And reviewing the key points to ensure that students understand what its lesson's main objectives are, and it also reinforces the importance of creativity in language learning activities. Ending with encouragement helps to boost the students' confidence, leaving them with a sense of accomplishment and pride in their work. This stage also provides an opportunity for formative assessment where you can gauge students' understanding and address any lingering questions or even challenges. So now that we have covered the instruction itself, let's dive deeper into the justification behind using shape poems in this lesson and explore how this approach aligns with the key educational principles and supports the development of both the language skills and social emotional growth. So, shape poems offer more than just unique writing exercise. They blend artistic expression with language development in an engaging and meaningful way. For ESL students, this is particularly important because it encourages them to use language in creative, non-linear ways. The activity requires students to think critically about how the shape they choose can enhance their language, prompting them to explore descriptive vocabulary and expressive sentence structures. This encourages them to expand their vocabulary and use more precise language, making it a holistic approach to learning. And by focusing on both visual and linguistic aspect of language, shape poems bridge the gap between the art and literacy, offering students a multidimensional way of exploring and understanding language. Most importantly, for young learners in an ESL setting, this activity helps them to connect with the language on an emotional and cognitive level, making their learning both fun and deeply personal. And how it fosters creativity. The shoot and soft game is where creativity truly sparks. The randomness of the shapes, whether it's a heart, a cloud, or a tree, compels students to engage with the process of creating meaning from their assigned shape, challenging them to push beyond the conventional and embrace the unexpected. This forces students to think flexibly about how words, shapes, and emotions intertwine. They cannot just write any poem, they must craft one that fits the shape, not only in form but in concept. This encourages students to think outside the box, stretch their imagination, and experiment with language in new ways, which is an essential aspect of creative thinking. Now, let's unpack how this activity integrates with the 6C framework, which focuses on critical competencies for modern learners. First, students are required to make deliberate, thoughtful choices, which enhances the critical thinking part with the words they use to match the shape and the theme of the poem. They must analyze the meaning of the shape and decide how best to express their thoughts and feelings in that form. For example, if they draw a cloud, They might explore ideas of lightness or dreaming using language that reflects the shapes symbolically. And creativity stands where the very essence of shape poems is creativity. The activity invites students to play with language and form, encouraging them to step away from the rigid, traditional structures and think more freely. Writing a poem in the shape of an object, whether it's a tree, heart, or a star, demands that students engage their imagination and apply their learning in a novel way. The gallery walk fosters collaboration by allowing students to view critique and discuss their peers' work. In this environment, it is important for students to learn mutual respect and strengthens their ability to give and receive feedback, which is key skill for any learner, right? The dual focus on both writing and oral presentation gives students opportunities to practice communication in different forms in a primary ESL classroom. Not only do they write their poems, but they also express their ideas verbally and visually by explaining and presenting to their friends or in front of the class. The TikTok video presentation is an excellent example as a teacher that you can show to a student. And you communicate with students how they can present their own poems. Next, shape poems help students build their confidence as they create and present their work. And this is a character building for their selves and a positive reinforcement for their peers during the gallery walk boosts their self-esteem. Lastly, the activity promotes a sense of community and citizenship. The gallery walk not only allows for students expressions but also highlights the importance of appreciating others' work. It fosters an inclusive environment where students tend to celebrate each other's achievements, learning how to be respectful and supportive in their interactions. Next is their social emotional learning, which is SEL. This activity integrates with social emotional learning in several impactful ways. First, the shape poem offers students the opportunity to explore and express their emotions in a safe and creative way. Whether they are writing about love, peace, or strength, students are being encouraged to reflect on their feelings and articulate them through language. This process is particularly beneficial in helping ESS students better understand and express complex emotions. And next, innovative use of physical and interactive tools. The gallery work further supports SEL by providing students with platform to receive positive feedback, which is also crucial for self-esteem. By using the shoot and solve game, which helps them determine the poem shapes, adds fun and surprise, boosting students' engagement in the classroom. This game like method makes creative writing more hands on and exciting while still supporting sorry, intentional learning goals. It breaks the routine and gets students moving, thinking, and smiling all at once. So, this activity, therefore, isn't just about writing poems, it's also creating an emotionally safe place for students to express themselves and grow socially and also emotionally. I think that wraps it up. That's all from me. Thank you.